Estonia has gone further than any other country in investing in digitizing the basic processes of society. A quarter of your electronic votes occur online, 95% of tax returns are done online, 95% of prescriptions are done online. How did you manage to really change the behavior of your citizens?
Well, I think, there are a number of factors. First of all, I think there was an innate predisposition to want to try new things as opposed to the old way. Right. There was this sort of almost semi-subconscious feeling of we don't want to do it the old way. That didn't work. That was bad. That was one thing. I think the second thing was that we saw across the Gulf of Finland, where we have Finland, a close neighbor with a very similar language, having accomplished a lot with IT. At the time they were ahead of us, but just thinking that, well, they're doing well and they're doing IT, so maybe we should do that too. Then there were a few sort of very simple tricks. When the first government sort of real big service we had was doing your taxes online. And here, basically, if you did your taxes online, it was very easy. You could do it in 3 minutes, so people liked that. And of course, if you did it online, you got your refund almost immediately, whereas if you did it on paper, it would take a long time to get your refund. Gotcha. And so that encouraged people to actually do their taxes online. When people did their taxes online, they actually discovered how easy it was, and then additional services as they came on were picked up easily by people. It didn't go smoothly, and when we introduced the digital prescription, there's some glitches in the system and people were really annoyed, and we thought, in fact, even a minister lost their job because the people were annoyed. But 4 months after we got the system going, we were already up at 85% of people using the digital prescription. So life is much easier for using these services for many people, and so they're willing to use them, and the other side, of course, is you have to make sure that everyone, that you have access. So we have, basically the country's covered by Wi-Fi, very high internet penetration rates. People do own computers, but even if they don't own computers, we have access to computers in villages and libraries and so forth.
And following up on something you also alluded to upstairs, how in your view has Estonia's reliance on IT technology helped Estonia kind of overcome the legacy of Soviet occupation?
Well, it's so new, it's so different that we don't really have to think about those things. And in fact, where we do have to overcome the legacy of Soviet occupation is that we have to build new roads, build overpasses and bridges. That you can't get around. Right. But on the other hand, the functioning of society, especially the transparency, is what is very important. That basically, all government expenditures are available online, and our journalists check up all the time that no one's misusing or abusing things, at least at the national level. It's really, the transparency exists in my country at the national level, the national government. We have very autonomous local governments, so the transparency legislation doesn't really go in there, but okay, that's lower level corruption when it occurs. If you look at corruption in post-communist countries, it's a really big problem in a lot of them, but we do much better on corruption than sort of a lot of the old established countries of the European Union. And I'd say part of it is the fact that everything is so transparent.
How has your role as a world leader in e-governance and cybersecurity impacted your relationship with the United States?
They take us seriously, that we would never expect for a country of our size, and that's really how it's impacted. I mentioned in my speech, I talked about the National Strategy for Trusted Identities in Cyberspace, which is the U.S. sort of goal of how to achieve security on the internet and cyberspace. And as I mentioned, the U.S. has done 3 of these sort of 12 goals, and we've done all 12 of them. And so they come and say, well, how does it work? How do you do it?
Right.
It's actually, the actual, how to do it is not, they're not asking what our technological solution is. They actually realize just as well what we're doing, but the fact is, how is it that we could do it politically, that people accept this, and I think that is a challenge. But certainly when it comes to issues of cybersecurity, first of all, being the only country that actually has this system that I talked about here, a public key infrastructure available to everyone, providing secure communications has been a big boost for us. And then secondly, some upcoming problems where Estonian IT companies have found a problem. I mean, upcoming meaning the next issue I predict, or we think, based on Stuxnet and other things, will be actually the integrity of input data for whatever programs exist, and that's how Stuxnet worked. It gave sort of funny signals that then made the centrifuges go haywire. We've also come up with the only real decent solution for solving the problem of data integrity. We sort of work hard on IT security. I mean, there are a lot of companies working on IT security in Estonia, and the solutions that we offer people from all over the world are interested in how we do this.
Are there any negative consequences associated with becoming an IT-based society?
None so big that I wouldn't, that I would warn against developing IT. I mean, from our point of view, it really has enabled us to overcome sort of the backwardness that was imposed on us. It's allowed us to really advance. I don't think we would ever be taken so seriously as a country as small as we are without being at the forefront of a lot of things in IT. And so, I mean, I don't know what I would say is negative about it so far.
The pros just far outweigh the negative.
Absolutely, and I don't know what would be negative about it. I mean, perhaps that people spend too much time online, but in our cold and dark climate, at least in the winters, what else are you going to do? And it probably means that people drink less.
In an April 2013 New York Times piece, you wrote that in the future you hope to connect digital services so that government data will move across borders as freely as email and Facebook. What would be the ideal outcome of such a connection, and how would it really benefit Estonians and citizens around the globe?
Okay, well, I did write that or publish that before any of the NSA revelation.
Okay.
But I mean, look at this. I mean, with our system, we can, and soon with our neighbor Finland, will be exchanging citizens' data for the comfort of the citizen. Okay, we're not there yet, but the thing I already talked about, say, the digital prescription, which when your doctor says, okay, you need to take this, and you can go anywhere in the country and take out the prescription. Now, in the future, again, this is for citizen services. Say you travel to Greece, and you lose your heart medicine. Well, I mean, that's kind of a catastrophe. What do you do? Whereas if you have the data moving back and forth freely and securely, I have to add, then you call your doctor at home and say, look, I lost my heart medicine. Here I am in Greece. Well, it doesn't even matter where you are. The doctor writes in a new prescription. You go to a pharmacy in Athens and you get your heart medicine. That's what I mean by data crossing borders. Okay, we can do the same thing, I think, a little further. Your health records. Again, in Estonia, you own your own data. Your healthcare records are it's up to you to decide who sees your healthcare records. We have pensioners coming to spend the summer in my country from Finland, and they're older people. They bring these sort of folders of their health records in case they get sick. They go to the doctor, and the doctor can look at this. Well, you don't need to do that. I mean, you just basically, if you get sick and you want to go and you have to go to the doctor, you take your ID card and he sticks it in there. You put in your code. He looks at whatever you have, and that really would, in the case of Europe, where it's not so much an issue here, but in Europe it would make movement of people much easier. Mm-hmm. It's much more convenient. I mean, in the United States, you're a big country. So in fact, you can go from New York to California and your doctor can look at your medical records. But in Europe, you can't do that. I mean, most countries, if not all, forbid the transfer of those data across borders. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need for further European integration, is the ability to have access to these services all over the European Union.